Administrator Zeldin, I'm from New Jersey, you're from Long Island, and Superstorm Sandy devastated both of our communities. Just yes or no, would you agree that Sandy endangered communities in New York and New Jersey?
Absolutely.
I would too. And now we know that climate change worsened Sandy's impact, causing an additional $8 billion of damage from sea level rise and exposing 71,000 more people to flooding. Despite that disaster, which impacted Long Island and New Jersey, the EPA under your leadership has repealed the 2009 endangerment finding and all climate pollution standards for vehicles, undermining the foundation of the EPA's ability to mitigate greenhouse gas pollution and reduce the risk of more frequent and intense superstorms inflicted by climate change. These massive rollbacks are also happening in the midst of an affordability crisis. By the EPA's own admission, the rollbacks will actually cost American families $180 billion in net costs, yet you still insist on misrepresenting this repeal as a good deal for the American people. So I want to highlight some of the flawed assertions. Just yes or no, when the EPA analyzed the impacts of this decision, it relied in part on the assumption that oil will cost about $47 per barrel. Is that correct?
There were many different models that were used.
But $47 is what I actually have it here, is the amount that was the baseline. Are you familiar with what current oil prices are per barrel?
Sure. Today?
Yes, today.
They're higher than that.
Yeah, it's actually today, U.S. gas prices hit the highest level since the beginning of Trump's war with Iran. And we know that Americans are paying for Trump's war at the pump, with average gas prices around $4 a gallon and diesel prices around $5 a gallon. Now, with the repeal of the endangerment finding and vehicle greenhouse gas standards, among other clean vehicle policies, the EPA's own analysis shows that gas prices will increase another 75 cents a gallon by 2050, adding more than $3 billion per year in fuel costs for American drivers. But I want to move on. We also know that pollution has real impacts on the health of the people that we represent, and research shows that climate change will drive $45 billion in additional health costs by 2050. Just yes or no, did the EPA fully and comprehensively account for additional healthcare costs, respiratory illnesses, hospitalizations, premature deaths associated with these rollbacks?
The decision was made based on the fact that the best reading of Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, EPA does not have the authority for the 2009 endangerment fund.
So it did not, right? So all these impacts to the people that
because it was
you
a
represent,
legal analysis,
that you used to represent, are going to see worse healthcare outcomes. And this comes on the back of last year when Republicans in the Trump administration cut $1 trillion from Medicaid and shift billions in SNAP administrative costs onto states and counties. Administrator Zeldin, I know you ran for governor of New York, so you're familiar with how state budgets work. State officials have been clear that these decisions are creating major budget shortfalls, and states are struggling. So with nearly $3.5 billion in proposed cuts to water infrastructure and categorical grants, does that mean that residents of New York should expect higher water bills or delayed projects? Which one?
Well, it's interesting how you're posing the question.
Because it's either or, right? Because you're cutting funding to
energy
states,
prices.
Right? Well,
you know how much energy prices are up in New Jersey?
What would you do if you were governor? What would you do if you were governor, right, of New York, which you ran for? Republicans cut $1 trillion from healthcare that now states have to backfill. Now you want to cut $3.5 billion from water infrastructure. New York, I'm sure, has a ton of projects that are now either going to be delayed, or to do those projects, it's going to be on the back of New Yorkers, right? So which one is it, delayed projects or higher costs for residents of New York, the state you sought to represent as
right? So the first part of that, as I've referenced earlier, is that the EPA, the president's FY27 budget, does not factor in how much you're going to choose to raise the budget.
Okay, and that's a point you've made before, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on because you've said other crazy stuff. You've said other stuff, crazy stuff today. Okay, that the Biden administration. I mean, are you going to do anything at some point? I mean, how many instances?
You ask a question, give me an opportunity to answer.
Because I moved on, and you've done this numerous times. So listen, I just want to ask you a question. You've said that the Biden administration with the IRA had more funds than the EPA knew how to spend, and there was waste, fraud, and abuse, right? And this was going out to people that were in the Biden orbit. You had said that earlier. Yet I'm curious if you have any issue with the fact that during the 2024 campaign, the president asked the oil and gas industry for $1 billion in exchange for supporting these rollbacks that the EPA is administering now. Is that at all an issue for you that the president said to the oil and gas industry, give me $1 billion and I will do your work? Isn't that not the work that the EPA is doing today?
I don't know. Are you actually asking questions?
I am asking a question. Are you going to give an answer?
I'm going to start an answer, and then you're going to cut me off. Is that how this works?
All right. Well, if that's going to be the case, then I have another thing for you. What do you think about the $220 million ad campaign that Secretary Noem had with the DHS that went directly to Trump? I'm talking. That went to Trump operatives. Did you speak out against that as a member of the administration?
How about the fact that the Biden was giving $5 billion to former Obama and Biden officials? How about the conflicts of interest during the Biden EPA that you don't want to uphold?
All right, what about in the Trump administration?
gold
Well,
bars
if you want
they
to
were
talk
throwing
about the
off
Biden
the
administration,
Titanic.
talk about the Trump administration. You're a part of the
ask a
administration.
question and you don't want
say
the
that
answer.
Secretary Noem was wrong.
here to-
he's
Say
here
that
to talk
Secretary
about
Noem
the
was wrong.
EPA.
You're not going to.
What you just watched wasn't just another tense exchange in Congress. It was a window into a much bigger fight over climate policy, economic reality, and who ultimately pays the price for government decision. When Robert Menendez Jr. began questioning EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, he didn't start with politics. He started with something deeply personal and grounded in real experience: Superstorm Sandy. That wasn't accidental. By bringing up a disaster that devastated both New Jersey and New York, Menendez was anchoring the conversation in lived reality, not theory. And here's the key point: he was building toward climate change is not abstract. It has already cost lives, destroyed communities, and, according to research he cited, added billions in damages. So when he pivots to policy, he's essentially asking if we already know the risks. Why are we rolling back the very tools designed to prevent worse outcomes?